Hi, welcome to Lanas y Ovillos. My name is Alba, and in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to knit this swoncho. It is a mix of a poncho and a sweater. It's really easy. Remember that you can find hundreds of crochet, amigurumi and knitting free patterns in my website. You can find the link on the description below. And if you are new in this channel, remember to subscribe and click on the bell to receive the notifications of my new videos. Let's go now with the materials and the step-by-step of this swoncho. To make this swoncho, it's only size because it's really oversized. I used 505 grams of this yarn, cotton merino from Katia. So you will need 550 grams. It's 11 balls of yarn, 4.5 millimeters knitting needles. I used circular needles with a cable of 40 centimeters at the beginning and later an 80 centimeters cable. You can see here the specifications of this material. Start this swoncho casting on 88 stitches. Cast on 88 stitches. You can use the way to cast on that you prefer. I will cast on the stitches like this to make an elastic cast on. Remember that you can cast on the stitches as you prefer, and cast on, remember, 88 stitches. Once you have all the 88 stitches, remember to keep the knots on the center of the needles. We are going to work with the circular needles, and we are going to work in the round. In this case, I'm going to take the two threads on the two first stitches, and I'm going to start with a 2-2 elastic stitch. Start with knit 2, knit the first 2 stitches, and then purl 2. Knit 2 and then purl 2. This is what you have to repeat to the end of the stitches. Knit 2, purl 2, the elastic 2, 2. So continue working knit 2 and purl 2 to arrive at the stitch marker. I'm finishing the first row. I finish with 2 purl stitches. Here you can find the stitch marker. Now I'm going to start the second row of the elastic. Repeat the same, knit 2 and purl 2, knit 2 and purl 2. When you find a knit stitch, you have to make a knit stitch. When you find a purl stitch, you have to make a purl stitch. So continue working the elastic stitch on this round and 3 more rounds. Now I made a row with the knit stitch to place the stitch markers. This is my first stitch marker. This is the stitch of the beginning of the row. Then I left in between of the stitch markers 2 stitches, 8 stitches, 26 stitches, 8, 2, 8 again, 26, 8 again, and you arrived at the stitch marker. Here, this is how you have to place the stitch markers on this swoncho to start making the increases. Start working knit 2 with those 2 stitches that will be the part of the shoulders. Knit 2. Just after the stitch marker, make a yarn over. Then knit all the stitches to the following stitch marker. Knit the 8 stitches to the following stitch marker. Just before the stitch marker, 1 yarn over again. And this is the part where we are going to make the increases. Start the first row of the center with purl 1. Now we are going to repeat 4 times a repetition of 6 stitches. Purl 1. We are going to cross those 2 stitches. We are going to knit the second stitch. You don't have to remove the stitch, and then purl the first stitch also on the left needle. Then you can remove both stitches from the needle. Now you are going to cross those 2 stitches but to the left. Now I'm going to use a stitch marker. Take the first stitch with a stitch marker and leave it on the front. Then purl the following stitch. Place again the stitch that you have on the stitch marker on the left needle and knit this stitch. This is how you have to cross to the left. And purl 1. Those are the 6 stitches that you have to repeat 3 times. Repeat one more time. Purl 1. Cross those 2 stitches to the right. To make the crossing to the right, you have to knit the second stitch. Don't remove those stitches from the needle. Purl the first stitch. Now you can remove those 2 stitches from the needle. Then cross the following 2 stitches to the left. Place the first stitch on a stitch marker, leave it on the front, work 1 purl stitch, place again the stitch on the stitch marker on the left needle and knit 1. And then purl 1. This is what you have to repeat. Repeat one more time. Purl 1. Cross to the right, knit the second stitch, then purl the first stitch, then remove those 2 stitches from the needle. Place the first stitch on a stitch marker on the front, purl the following stitch, place the stitch again on the left needle, knit one and purl one. This is what you have to make on the row number 1 of the center. And finish this part of the center with a purl stitch. After the stitch marker 1 increase, make a yarn over, knit the following stitches to the next stitch marker, knit all the following stitches to the next stitch marker, make a yarn over again. This is the part of the increases that you are going to make on both sides of the center, on the front and on the back. Knit the 2 stitches of the shoulders, then repeat the same on the other side of the swoncho. Yarn over, knit all the stitches to the following stitch marker, yarn over, and repeat the part of the center that you made on the front part. Then again yarn over, knit all the stitches and yarn over just before the stitch marker, and you finish the first row. Now slip the stitch marker, knit the 2 stitches of the shoulders, then you can find here the yarn over. You have to knit the yarn over taking the back loop like this, then knit all the stitches to the following yarn over, also the yarn over taking the back loop, and make the part of the center. Once you are at the part of the center, you have to work the stitches as you have on the needle. Here in this case you can find a purl stitch, so you have to purl this stitch, following a stitch, a purl stitch also. Then here you can find a knit stitch, so you have to knit the stitch. When you find a purl stitch, you have to purl. When you find a knit stitch, you have to knit. You have to work the stitches of the center as you find them. Knit stitch, so you have to work a knit stitch, purl stitch, so you have to work a purl stitch. I finished the part of the center, the last purl stitch, then slip the stitch marker and work again the part where you have the increases on the previous row. Work the yarn over, remember taking the back loop, make a knit stitch taking the back loop, continue working the knit stitches, and remember on the following yarn over, remember take the back loop. Repeat the same to the end, remember where you find the yarn overs, taking the back loop, and where you find the part of the center, remember knit when you have a knit stitch and purl when you have a purl stitch. Start the following row making the 2 stitches of the shoulders, then yarn over, knit all the stitches to the following stitch marker, yarn over just before the stitch marker, slip the stitch marker. This is the third row of the part of the center. Now we are going to start making crosses again. Purl 1. Then repeat 4 times. We are going to make a crossing to the right with those 2 stitches. So knit the second stitch, don't remove the stitch from the needle, purl the first stitch, then remove both stitches from the needle, then purl 2 stitches, and then we are going to make a crossing to the left. Remember to make how to make a crossing to the left. Place the first stitch on a stitch marker, leave it on the front, then purl the following stitch, place again the stitch that you have on the stitch marker on the needle and knit this stitch. This is how you have to cross to the left. Now start the following repetition. Cross to the right, remember, knit the second stitch, don't remove the stitches from the needle, purl the first stitch, remove the stitches from the needle, then purl 2, make a crossing to the left, leave the first stitch on a stitch marker on the front, then purl the following stitch, place again the stitch on the left needle and knit it. This is what you have to repeat to the end of the part of the center. And on the last stitch, purl 1. Slip the stitch marker and make again what you have to make on the part of the increases, on the sides of the part of the center. Yarn over, knit all the stitches to the following stitch marker. Just before the stitch marker, yarn over again. Then knit the 2 stitches of the shoulders and repeat the same on the other side of the swoncho, the part of the increases and the part of the center. Once you finished a row with the increases, make a row without increases, knit 2 on the shoulders, then remember the yarn over, you have to knit the yarn over taking the back loops, knit all the stitches to the following yarn over, remember take the back loops to make a knit stitch. Then on the part of the center, remember that where you find a knit stitch, you have to work a knit stitch. Where you find a purl stitch, you have to work a purl stitch. Remember, work the yarn overs taking the back loops and work the part of the center, knit on the knit stitches, purl on the purl stitches. We are now on the row number 5, a row with increases. Work the 2 stitches of the shoulder, remember increase after the following stitch marker, work the knit stitch to the following stitch marker, 1 increase, remember yarn over before the stitch marker. This is the last time that I will explain how to make the part of the increases. Remember, Remember, on the sides of the center, before and after the part of the shoulder, make one increase on each side of the part of the increases. One increase on each side, but only on the odd rows. Always make the increases on the odd rows, and on the even rows you don't have to make the increases. You have to work the yarn over, taking the back loops and work the part of the center. Remember, making a knit stitch where you have a knit stitch and purl stitch when you have a purl stitch. Remember, increases on the sides of the part of the center. Let's make the part of the center on the row number 5. Purl 1, now we are going to make a crossing to the left, so place the first stitch on a stitch marker on the front, purl 1, then place again the stitch on the left needle, knit 1, then purl 2, then make a crossing to the right, knit the second stitch, don't remove the stitches from the needle, purl the first stitch, then remove all the stitches from the needle. Those are the 6 stitches that you have to repeat 3 more times. Repeat 3 more times those 6 stitches, crossing to the left, two purl stitches, crossing to the right, repeat to the end, and once you are at the end you have to make a purl stitch. This is how you have to work the row number 5 of the center. Remember to work the increases on the sides, because you are on an odd row. Now we are going to make an even row. Remember the rows without increases. Work the yarn overs, taking the back loops, and once you are at the part of the center, work the knit stitch where you have a knit stitch and the purl stitch where you have a purl stitch. This is how you have to make all the even rows. I'm on the part of the center of the row number 7. I made the part of the increases. Now we are going to work the row number 7 of the center. Start with a purl 1, start the repetition with a purl stitch, then make a crossing to the left. So place the first stitch on a stitch marker at the front, purl 1, then knit the stitch of the stitch marker, then make a crossing to the right, knit the second stitch, don't remove the stitches from the needle, purl the first stitch, then remove the stitches and purl 1. This is the repetition that you have to make 3 more times. 1 purl stitch, a crossing to the left, a crossing to the right, and 1 purl stitch. This is what you have to repeat to the end. And at the end make a purl stitch. This is how you have to make the center of the SWONCHO on the row number 7. Remember, on the row number 8 work the row without increases, and once you finish the row number 8, start again with the row number 1 of the part of the center. Remember, keeping the part of the increases on the odd rows. The part of the increases on the odd rows make increases on both sides of the part of the center. Remember that you have to make the crossings also on the odd rows on the part of the center, and work the even rows without increases, making the knit stitch on the yarn over, taking the back loops, and on the part of the center knit when you have a knit stitch and purl when you have a purl stitch. Continue working like this, and here you can see better which is the shape of the SWONCHO. Here you can see the part of the shoulders, the part of the increases on both sides of the center, and on the part of the center continue working those 8 rows. And exactly the same on the other side of the SWONCHO. Continue working like this to have, in my case, 43 centimeters from the part of the neck to the bottom of the SWONCHO. Now I'm going to stop making increases when I made 43 centimeters. Now we are going to work without increases, repeating the same. The part of the sides without increases, no increases on the part of the sides, continue working the part of the shoulders, the part of the sides without increases, and keep working the same repetitions of the center, the same repetitions of the 8 rows of the center, to have 5 more centimeters without increases. Now we are going to separate the part of the sleeves from the part of the body. From the first stitch marker you have to count 22 stitches to the right, and from the second stitch marker you have the 2 stitches of the shoulders, 22 stitches to the left. Those are the stitches that you will use to make the sleeves. I'm going to knit all the stitches to arrive at the marker of the sleeves. I will leave all those stitches in a piece of yarn. make a double knot. Those are the stitches that you will use to make the sleeves. Then continue working normally the part without increases of the sides and the part of the center, and make the same on the other side, counting the stitches to place the markers to know which are the stitches that you need to make the sleeves. Work also the stitches of the sleeves and place them on a piece of yarn also, and continue working the part of the body to arrive at the stitches, to arrive at the place where you have the first sleeve. Remember working without increases on the sides and making the part of the center normally. This is the last stitch before the first sleeve. Once you knit the last stitch, you have to cast on 12 stitches. Cast on the stitches like this, using the finger. Cast on 12 stitches. And continue working the stitches of the body. Remember the part without increases, the part of the center normally, making the repetition of the 8 rows. And stop before the other sleeve. Once you are at the other sleeve, repeat the same. Cast on 12 stitches to make the other sleeve. Cast on 12 stitches. Continue working without increases and making the part of the center to arrive at the stitches that you cast on the first sleeve. Once you are at those stitches, you have to knit those stitches, normally knit those stitches on both sleeves. Knit those stitches to continue making the part of the body. And you have to continue working the rows without increases and making the part of the center, making the 8 rows of the part of the center to have 12 more centimeters. 12 centimeters working without increases to finish with a part of the body. Once you have the 12 centimeters, remember working without increases and making the repetition of the 8 rows of the center. Start working the elastic part of the bottom of the swoncho. You are going to work 6 rows. Making the elastic 2, 2. Remember how to make the elastic. You have to knit 2 and purl 2. Knit 2 and purl 2 to the end of this row. Knit 2, purl 2. On the following row, remember where you have 2 knit stitches, you have to knit 2, and where you have 2 purl stitches, you have to purl 2. So continue working with the knit 2, purl 2 to have 6 rows of the elastic stitch. Once you are at the last row, you have to bind off all those stitches. How to bind off? You have to knit 1, knit the following stitch and pass the first stitch over the second stitch. You can use the way to bind off that you prefer. I prefer this way. Then purl the following stitch and pass the first stitch over the second stitch. Purl the following stitch and pass the first stitch over the following stitch. Here you have knit 2, so knit 1 and pass the first stitch over the second stitch. Knit the following stitch and pass over the following stitch. So knit or purl the stitch as you find it and pass the previous stitch over the second stitch, and this is how you have to bind off all those stitches that you have on the bottom of the swoncho. Once you finish the part of the elastic, you have to start making the sleeves. Place the stitches that you had on a piece of yarn, place them on the needle. Then with the yarn, pick up the stitches that you have on the bottom of the sleeve. On the bottom of the sleeves, pick up those stitches and start working the rounds with those stitches that you have on the needle. Cut the piece of yarn, remove it, and start working those stitches. Place the stitch marker and work 5 rows with the knit stitch, 5 rows with knit stitches, working all the stitches of the sleeves, 5 rows with the knit stitch, Now I'm going to make some rows with decreases. Every 5 rows I'm going to make 5 decreases around this round. In my case, I will start with a knit 3 and make a decrease. So you have to make the decreases around this row. To make the decrease, you only have to knit 2 together. So continue making the 5 decreases that you have to make on this row. And now you have to make 5 more rows without decreases. So continue working the rows of the sleeves without decreases. Five more rows, and then on the following row make again around the row 5 decreases. You have to repeat those decreases to have 24 rows of the sleeves. So make 24 rows and you will end with 20 less stitches when you started the sleeves. I'm going to finish the sleeve working 5 more rows without decreases, and then make 6 rows of the elastic stitch as we made on the bottom part of the swoncho. And then bind off all the stitches. When you finish the first sleeve, repeat exactly the same with the other sleeve. Well, that's all. I hope you like it. Remember to subscribe and click on the bell to receive the notifications of all my new videos. And remember that you can find hundreds of free crochet, amigurumi and knitting patterns in my website. As always, thank you for watching and see you on the next video.